Cameras are officially rolling on season 13 of American Horror Story, and it is time for another roundup of all of the news and rumors regarding the star-studded installment. And trust me, we already have a lot to talk about. But first, if you don't know me, my name is Skyler Gaetano, and I make videos about my favorite horror movies and TV shows. And recently, I've been doing a series of deep dives on American Horror Story. I just did Coven and Murder House, which means, of course, Apocalypse is coming next this month. So make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss that. However, I did not know just how relevant these 3 seasons would be to the production of American Horror Story Season 13, because without a doubt, I can definitely say we will return to Robichaux again this year. If you didn't hear, last October, the cast for the season was revealed, including American Horror Story legends Sarah Paulson, Evan Peters, Gabri Sidibe, Billy Lord, Leslie Grossman, Emma Roberts, Kathy Bates, Angela Bassett, and Jessica Lange. To top it off, it was also announced that megastar Ariana Grande would also be a part of the ensemble. Notably, it's been 7 years since we last saw Kathy Bates, Angela Bassett, or Jessica Lange on this show, with coincidentally all 3 of their last appearances being in the same episode, the finale of Apocalypse. If you're not familiar, Apocalypse was the first full-blown crossover season of American Horror Story, combining storylines and characters from American Horror Story Murder House and AHS Coven. And while it was very hyped amongst the fan base, it infamously crashed and burned in its second half, which is why, alongside celebration, you are also seeing a lot of raised eyebrows at the confirmation that season 13 is shaping up to be yet another crossover season. First things first, filming officially began on April 6, 2026, and it was commemorated with an Instagram post from series co-creator Ryan Murphy, giving us a look at the much-anticipated return of Jessica Lange. In the photos, we only see a back view of Lange, but it does appear that she is in costume for her season 13 role, and perhaps she may be standing in one of the primary sets for the season. Little did we know that Murphy had a whole week's worth of surprises in store for us though, but let's not get ahead of ourselves, as there's still a lot to unpack here with just this day one first look. Stating the obvious, any AHS fan is going to point out this outfit and hairdo is nearly a copy and paste from a couple looks Lange has previously worn as her Murder House character, Constance Langdon. Notably, it is a different style dress in terms of cut and sleeve length, with a similar blue floral pattern to the one that she wore in both seasons 1 and 8. This still very much seems like an intentional visual nod to Constance Langdon. Then, in the comments section, Murphy dropped a bomb when, in response to a fan asking for the Coven to return, he commented, "Done," which was our first official confirmation that season 13 was another witch season. The fan also specifically asked for Angela Bassett to once again reprise her role as Marie Laveau, and with the way the reveals of the week shaped out to be, I'd say that's a pretty safe bet that Marie Laveau is returning to our screens this year. So, while season 13 being a Coven follow-up has since been heavily confirmed, there's still been very little to confirm that the season may also have a Murder House connection, aside from this Constance Langdon-esque first look. 2 days later, Murphy gave fans another bombastic update, confirming the return of Sarah Paulson as Cordelia Good, as well as the return of Robichaux Academy. His caption read, AHS13, the return of Sarah Paulson as Cordelia Good, the Supreme rises. And yes, we have rebuilt the entire Robichaux Academy, coming this September. Lots to unpack there. Let's take it from the top. The return of Cordelia, the Supreme rises. If you don't recall, spoiler alert, AHS Apocalypse ended with Cordelia performing the sacred taking by killing herself, allowing Mallory to temporarily rise as the Supreme and take out the Antichrist. Mallory spends about 5 minutes as Supreme though, as she immediately travels back in time and kills the Antichrist, and finds herself 3 years in the past, having reset the timeline and saved the world from the apocalypse. But by doing this also means that she's no longer Supreme anymore, as back in time, Cordelia is still Supreme at the end of Apocalypse. I know, super confusing, but this isn't the Apocalypse deep dive. But since we are officially returning to Robochos, I would have to assume that we are returning to this reset timeline at the end of Apocalypse, where Cordelia is still supreme and training a large class of witches, including the secretly powerful Mallory. This would make sense with the casting of Billy Lord, Gabri Sidibe, and Leslie Grossman in Season 13, whose characters were all alive in this timeline. As you know, I'm filming the Apocalypse deep dive right now, and trust me, the one thing we don't want to revisit is one of the worst conclusions of any season ever.
That's not what the fans want to see. That's literally what the fans don't want to see. Do you understand? That's not what they want to see. And that's not what the fans want to see. That's what the fans, I promise you, don't want to see.
That said, as you will see in the incoming deep dive, I have a love-hate relationship with Apocalypse, and I believe it was at its strongest in episodes 4 and 5 when it was feeling the most like a Coven sequel. So if we're going the cheap fan service route, I know we will at least get some fun moments out of the season, but I really hope that they have learned from the fans' reactions to Apocalypse and also Red Tide that we don't want these huge actors to be brought back for a season that, by the end, fizzles out and loses all of its intrigue, stakes, and tension. So would a Coven Apocalypse sequel have been my first choice for Season 13 as a fan? No, absolutely not. I love original seasons, and I also think seasons like Cult, Freak Show, Asylum, or Roanoke could easily have an interesting follow-up or crossover season if they wanted to try and get some older fans back on board with the show, rather than doing something they've literally already done. We don't have to bring back the witchcraft theme, which has now been used in 4 main seasons and 1 spin-off episode. Not to mention, hey, we did witches last season. But I can't change the fact that the Robochos set is back up and the Cordelia wig is glued down, so let's just buckle up and have a good time. Since the witches are back, give them a good reason to be back and give them a strong, capable opponent who puts up a good fight with a plot that draws from the strengths of Coven and resolves in a clever, satisfying way. If that's too much to ask, just give us at least 70% of what I just said, and it'll still be pretty solid. I'm really not that hard to please, trust me. Also, in Murphy's caption, he confirmed that the season will premiere in September, which reflects the similar release dates of the previous 6 seasons, but filming is starting a bit earlier, so hopefully that is a good sign. Next, Murphy had another headline-inducing update on the season when he posted the following video to Instagram.
Surprise, bitch. Bet you thought you'd seen the last of me.
Oh, hey girl, it's you again. So, based on what I said earlier about the timeline Apocalypse ends on, Madison is still back in hell, but Mallory says she will eventually go get her. She just wants Madison to sweat it out a bit longer in hell, which brings me to my next point. Madison Montgomery is a complex character that gets done severely dirty in both Coven and Apocalypse. So now that we've got confirmation that Emma Roberts' role in the season will be her 3rd go-round as Madison Montgomery, can we actually treat her with some humanity or even an ounce of forgiveness? She grows as a character in Apocalypse, but still by the end of it, she's treated like she's still that mean girl that we met at the start of the season, despite all that she's been through, and she's not actually evil, you guys. Next, let's look at the set behind her, and you'll notice that they've recreated a very specific corner of the portrait room, which I'm very excited about. It's also known as the Ancestor Room, which we first saw in AHS Coven, and that was the only time we saw it. They did not rebuild it for Apocalypse. As I've already stated in my Apocalypse deep dive, this is the room they should have recreated in that season rather than the barely seen in Coven dining room that they did a pretty bad job at that. The portrait room was the primary meeting place in Coven. Now I just gotta hope that they really go all in with recreating this grand space with tall ceilings and all. I mean, they're in a soundstage, they can do tall ceilings, and if you can't get exact matches of the portraits, we won't care that much about that. They've got the important ones. I saw Anna Lee Layton and whatnot, so just fill that room with portraits. You have so much reference material to use at your disposal. Don't pull an Apocalypse. So again, I'm very happy to see that there will at least be an attempt to use the more recognizable rooms in Coven than those 3 tiny sets from Apocalypse. Next, let's discuss where filming is taking place this year. As it might surprise you to know, it's neither the home of Robichaux nor the home of the Murder House. Season 13 is expected to be filming in New York City up until July 22nd under the codename Penthouse, but in that codename, there's a 3 instead of an E. Speaking on that codename for a second, before Ryan went and spilled so many beans, I was going to theorize that this 3 was a hint that season 13 would be a 3rd season of Coven.
And indeed it was. So
AHS always films under a production codename. Here are some from seasons past. Sometimes there's a hint, sometimes not. But I really think that if there was a hint, it was the 3. AHS has filmed in New York City for both seasons 11 and 12, so it makes sense that production would resume there. But it is a bit hilarious that every season featuring Robichaux has been filmed on a wildly different side of the states. Before I get into rumor territory, let's discuss some other bits of news that have dropped along the way since we last talked. Firstly, legendary artist, filmmaker, and actor John Waters announced himself that he will have a role in season 13. And previously announced cast member Ariana Grande recently told interviewers that her role in the season would be small.
I'm coming into the world in a way that I don't know much about yet, and
How did it come about? How did it come about? Did Ryan just approach you?
Yes, I received a text, a very exciting text that I can't say much about. But I think I'll probably have a very tiny thing to do in it, but I'll be grateful to be a part of it because I love everyone involved.
This makes sense, given the filming schedule is overlapping with her rehearsals for tour and the tour itself, and goddammit, she just started officially teasing a new album literally this same week. Thank you so much, Ariana, by the way. Then, for the 5 of you who are clamoring for more American Horror Stories, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but according to Rick Porter at The Hollywood Reporter, the spinoff is currently in limbo, which in Ryan Murphy land can either mean it's gone for good, or perhaps he'll give it another go in 7 years, like Feud. Alright, now let's discuss this rumor that's made the rounds on social media, claiming that there will be a major format change in season 13 of AHS, with the show committing to a shorter 30-minute runtime as opposed to the traditional hour-long drama format. Additionally, the rumor claims that the season will contain 13 episodes. When I first read this, I thought it was absolutely fake. And while this has still not been confirmed, the more I think about it, it seems like something they could possibly do, but definitely not something I want. This rumor originates from Horror Story News on Instagram, who to their credit get a lot of stuff right, but they just don't cite their sources. They have anonymous sources, and that's not confirmation to me, unfortunately. But if you recall, back in season 11, the show pulled a gimmick of airing 2 episodes a night across 5 weeks. So I can see them justifying the 30-minute runtime if they aired 2 a week, but again, let's just take this with a grain of salt right now. And there you have it. That is everything we know about AHS Season 13, and things are clearly going down a pretty nostalgic route. As a fan of the show, I of course have mixed feelings about this. A little part of me holds out hope that they'll right the wrongs of Apocalypse and maybe even Coven, but that little part of me is heavily outweighed by the doubts I have based on the actions and decisions by the very people involved in this upcoming season. So at this point, we'll just have to wait and see. And no matter what, we have a fun year of AHS ahead of us, and who knows, it could be the last, so I'm gonna enjoy it and hope they don't do anything too crazy.